So this is going to be our very first Foundation 2 lesson. And the topic that I've chosen is one that is really crucial, actually, if you keep going on with maths, which many of you are going to be doing your IGCSE maths, and that is factorization. So factorization is at the very beginning of your course. It is, in fact, in week 2. So hopefully pretty much every one of you should have come across it already. All right. So I have a little PowerPoint I've got sorted over here. And with this PowerPoint, it's important because I've tried to make it so that there's something for you to see, something for you to read while I talk, but I'm also going to be writing. And this is why I say, if there is something that I've written that you cannot read or that I've said that you don't understand, type in the chat and I will see it and I will correct or help you to understand what's going on. All right. Factorization. Some of you may find that you're in the situation that this guy is sitting in, where you have stuff in your textbook or workbook, goes into your head and you're like, yes, I've got factorization. Boom, gone. Nothing. Forever gone, never to be seen again. Now, if you're not, great for you. However, many people actually struggle with factorization. Now, in your Foundation 2 course, you're going to be doing 2 different kinds of factorization: common factor and grouping. Now, you might say, why? Like, the whole process is a little weird. I feel like I'm doing work for nothing. Like it feels like I'm making stuff more complicated. So the big thing is, why do we factorize? The whole point of factorization is to change an expression of many terms into one term. And that is actually incredibly crucial for more complex solving later on in your courses, especially from IGCSE upwards. So you might say, well, that's nice, I can change it. Why? So why? Because we're only going to be able to cancel when we're dealing with one term. You're like, but cancel what? Well, that is a question we can only answer a little bit later when we come to algebraic fractions. And when we are solving, we're going to need one term. And again, that'll become later, most likely in your IG level. So unfortunately, that's why you won't really get a great answer for now, but just keep the idea that the whole purpose is to get one term. Okay, we can do that. What's a term? So I can say, great, get one term, but what's a term? Well, we're going to start looking at a common factor, because that's the first type of factorization you're going to do. And we only need to look at one type, a monomial common factor. Now, you may never heard of the word monomial before. Don't worry, I'm going to explain it all. The 2 bits in red are the kinds of common factors you're going to be dealing with next year when you come to your IGCSE course. So just as a little bit of foreshadowing, or in other words, showing you what is to come in the future, this is all the factorization you will end up doing at IGCSE level. And I don't even see you guys, but I'm pretty sure I heard a couple gasps. At the moment, you are doing that one, and you are doing this one. So you will be doing all of that, and you will be doing all of those next year. But don't worry about it. That is future use problem. At the moment, we're just going to look at common factors. And as I said, to do this, we need to understand what is a term. So does anyone know what a term is? So you can type it into the chat bar for me. So what do you believe a term is? All right, so what is a term? A term is an algebraic expression separated by a plus or minus sign. So it is signs being a plus or minus sign, not a times or divide sign. So this is very important because this is going to be able to enable us to know how many terms we have, how many terms we're going to end up with, and how many terms are going to be in our brackets. So when we're looking at a monomial common factor, monomial is the fancy name for one term. So in other words, it is exactly what you've been doing. It can be a 5, a -2, a 3x, a 2yz, anything like that. So if I give you something like the following. I give you 9x plus 3y. And I say to you, factorize this. I'll give you a hint, there's a common factor. Okay. Let's try and break down what common factor actually means. Common, well, that's not a difficult word. Common means it applies to everything. So it's common to all terms. Well, what is a factor? Well, hopefully you know what a factor is. A factor is something that divides into something else with no remainder. Once again, I note, if there's something I write that you cannot read, let me know. All right, now I've specifically used the word something because it's not necessarily a number, it could be an algebraic expression. So let us break these terms, because please note, there is a plus sign, therefore one term and one term. So we have two terms. Let's break these up into its factors. And you remember that in primary, or even in Foundation 1, we dealt with writing numbers in terms of their prime factors. So we are able to split 9 into 3 times 3, and then times by my variable x. 3 is a prime number, so it is just 3 times by my variable y. Is there anything common between this term and this term? Well, yes. When I say common, I mean, is there anything the same? Well, I have a 3 here, and I have a 3 there. Are both 3's common? No, because I do not see 2 3's on the one side and 2 3's on the other side. I only see 1 3. So therefore, 3 is my common factor. Now, I've got my common factor. What do I do? Well, when I take out my common factor, the words take out mean divide here. So I need to divide this by 3. So in taking it out, I'm essentially removing it, because if I divide by 3, they cancel. And then what am I left with? I'm left with a 3x. Okay. So in this bracket, I'm going to be writing what remains? Again, I'm going to divide by 3. They cancel. And I'm therefore left with a plus and a y. So this is me telling you, this is what you do. How do you know if I'm right? How do you know that I'm not completely misleading you? Well, another very important thing to realize about taking out a common factor is that this is the opposite process of the distributive law. The distributive law you dealt with when you were trying to expand brackets. So if you had A times B plus C, you multiplied the A onto both of them, and you got A times B plus A times C. Factorization takes this and now moves backwards into brackets. So let's distribute this to see if it works. 3 times 3x is indeed 9x. Great. 3 times y is indeed 3y. Great. That is exactly what I need. All right. If you have multiple y's as well, you would then very equivalently spread out the y's just in case you have common variables as well. All right. So if I have I'm going to clear this. So if I have this and I say to you, let's have a look at 3x squared plus 9. Actually, let's not make that a plus. Let's make it a minus. Minus 9xy. I'm going to have to split this up into its factors. So that is 3 times x times x minus the 9 is 3 times 3 times x times y. Now I have to see, is there anything common? Well, I have a 3 there and a 3 there. Do I have another 3 that links to this one over here? No. So my common factor with reference to numbers is 3. However, I have an x there and I have an x here, which means that my common factor is not only 3, but 3x. And then what am I left with in this term? Well, once I get rid of those, I'm left with x minus, when I'm left here, I have a 3, I have a y, 3y. And I can check it. When I distribute here, I get 3x squared. And when I distribute here, 3x times minus 3y is minus 3 times 3 is 9xy. And that is my original expression. The sneaky part, though, is when you take out the whole side, or should we say the whole term. So if I have something like 4x squared minus 2. I can break this up. So I get 2 times x times x minus 2. I look and I say, is there anything common? Well, there's a 2 on that side, and there's a 2 on that side. So my common factor is 2. And I need to write what's remaining. Well, once I get rid of that, I have a 2 times x, 2x squared. Great. I have a minus, but I've taken this out, which means there's nothing there, so I just close the brackets, right? Well, no. And this is the problem. Because if you have a minus here, you need a number after it. Maybe you want to put the minus there. Okay. Now, if I multiply this out, I get minus 4x squared. That is not what I started with. Note how many terms I have. 1 term, 2 terms. So if I have 2 terms here, I need to have 2 terms in my brackets. So therefore, this is wrong. My common factor is 2. This is 2x squared. But remember, I said, when I take this out, I am dividing. So therefore, I need to divide here. And when you divide, 2 divided by 2 gives me 1. And that 1 needs to be there. So that when I distribute in, 2 times 2 gives me 4x squared. And then 2 times minus 1 gives me minus 2, my second term that I needed. So if you take out the whole thing, you need to have this 1 here. Crucial, crucial, crucial. All right. Once again, we're just about at the end. I want to give you guys a little bit of homework to do. I'm going to give you guys these 9 questions to do. So copy these down. If you want to, you can just take a snapshot, print screen, take a picture of the screen, whatever it is. There's going to be 3 here, and then 6 on the next slide. And all of them are taking out common factors. And then what will happen is next live lesson, I'm going to go through them and we can mark, and then you can make sure that you're on the right track. And if you've got questions, you can ask them.